So this is my mom, and for her 50th birthday, she wants to embark on a journey of improving her sleep. I've been working on this for the last couple months, and now it's time that we teach her some of the great things. She's already all around quite healthy, but there's some things we can do to improve it. So let's get into it. So we talked a little bit already about kind of your habits and a little bit about the issues you have with your sleep. And so what I heard from that is, well, obviously from living with you, I know that you already exercise quite regularly, so that's not an issue. You eat quite clean, that's not really an issue. And you tend to be very good about like getting to bed on time. But the things that we talked about that were kind of limiting factors were mostly, I think, just not being able to fall asleep as quickly as you would like to. Is that accurate?
I think that is true sometimes, maybe 30% of the nights. And then another 30%, I will wake up like around 3 a.m. and have difficulty falling back to sleep. Like it can be for up to a couple hours that I'm just kind of rolling around trying to be asleep.
Sure. So it's falling asleep and then also like sleep duration and quality. All right. So from the things we've already talked about, I have compiled 7 major things that I think would be great for you to work on. And they're mostly very easy things to do. Not anything super crazy, but just little tweaks that you can make that I think will help you sleep through the whole night and also fall asleep more easily. The first thing is actually less related to what we were just talking about, but I remember a couple months ago, I walked into your room in the evening and I saw you lying in bed. The room was completely dark and you just had your phone and all I could see was your face like lit up on the screen. And so I don't know how often you actually do it, but I would highly recommend taking all technology out of the room as much as possible. Because if you think about the amount of like stimulation and sometimes even anxiety that is linked to our phones, like being able to get notifications when you're trying to sleep can really mess with that. So that's one thing that I would highly recommend is even if it is in the room, just keep it farther away. So not on the nightstand, but just out of arm's reach so you can't readily look at it whenever you want. Because especially if you are lying awake at 3 a.m., there might be that temptation to like go on the phone. And that is like really bad because then you're getting new information, getting new things, and blue light in your eyes when you want to really be falling back asleep. So I don't think that's really an issue for you, but
no, yeah, that was a rare occurrence. Yeah. Although I would say that this watch, if a text comes in, will like buzz at me. So sometimes I do notice that during the night.
So that's definitely something that I would set up is on iPhone, you can set up a sleep focus. So from a certain time in the evening to a certain time in the morning, it will totally lock down all your notifications. You shouldn't get anything through the Fitbit, and then that will just allow you to totally be zenned out, ready to sleep. So the next thing is morning sunlight. This is something that you probably already do, and now coming to this part of the year, it's becoming easier and easier as it's going to be actually warm during the day. But in your circadian rhythm, a lot of that is actually based on environmental cues like the sun. And so in the morning, it's really important that you get broad spectrum light that is going to help stimulate reduction in melatonin, reduction in adenosine, that will help you be more alert in the morning, and really just sync up your circadian rhythms so that when it's time to go to sleep, you feel tired, but when it's time to be awake, you feel awake. And so that's why some people really struggle with the mornings, because they have all the lights off, they don't get any sunlight, and then it's hard for your body to know like when you should be awake, right? So ideally, you want like 15 minutes in the morning, usually within like 2 hours of waking. That is plenty. That'll be good. So, I mean, you can pair that with a walk. That's always good. Or I have a daylight lamp on my desk that, since I wake up generally like before the sun is up, then I'm able to use that, because I can't really go for a walk and get sunlight, because I wake up a little bit earlier. And then the counterpart of that is, ideally you want to be also getting some like warmer light in the evening, and so that can be like watching the sunset. It does basically the opposite of getting that daylight in the morning. It is like triggering your body to start producing melatonin, start making you sleepy, getting you ready for bed. And so if you're not watching the sunset, we'll talk about this later as well, but just keeping the lights dark in the evening is always good. So our third thing, I would say, is exercising, particularly in the early afternoon. So you already exercise quite a bit, from what I've seen, and that is totally good. It's great to be exercising, but I think we can improve it a little bit more to get your sleep to the next level. And so exercising particularly in the early afternoon, like moderate exercise in the early afternoon. So that's something like walking, or like light weights, not going crazy. Well, I've never seen you go crazy on the weights, but
come on.
But some weights, doing that sometime like after lunch, in that time span, is really good for getting your body ready then in the evening to sleep, because it affects your body's core temperature, and when you're trying to go to sleep, your body's core temperature has to decrease, and so that workout kind of preps your body for that core temperature decrease in the evening.
So exercise at a different time of day than I'm used to.
Yeah. I think exercising in the morning is great because it just sets your day up right. But from a scientific standpoint, it's not the best. In general, if we think from an evolutionary standpoint, humans, if we reflect on like other animals, they're generally not going out right in the morning and like hunting or doing lots of exercise. And so doing it in the afternoon, what's up? And so doing it in the afternoon is generally better. Like that is kind of what your body's made to do. So our fourth thing is doing the same bedtime every single night. And now you're already pretty good at this. You go to bed around like 10 o'clock, do you say?
Yeah.
And so you're generally very consistent in this. This is not a big concern for me, but some people who really vary their bedtimes, that concerns me. But what I would recommend to you is the same thing that I do, which is a bedtime alarm,
Okay.
which very easy to set up, takes you 30 seconds. You can do it with Siri, and it will just give you that alarm, same time every night. I just like it because it reminds me, because sometimes I'll be doing something else and I just totally forget, and then I'll stay up for longer. So I think that is really just powerful because it allows you to like automate when you're going to bed, because your phone will always remind you at the same time. But again, that's not really something that I'm concerned about for you, because you generally tend to keep it within like an hour. So yeah, that is just a really easy thing that you could set up today.
Okay.
And make everything just a little bit better. And when you do that, it really just, your body gets in such a good routine when you're going to bed, like in that very small window of time. It really gets your body in routine so that you know your body knows when to go to sleep and knows when to get up. And when you really stick to that, you start, like you've heard me saying that I'm like really locked in on sleep right now. That's like, I've been hitting the bedtime really consistently, and so I'm able to wake up when I need to wake up every single day without moving. So another thing I would think about, is meditation or journaling, because it seems like sometimes you struggle with falling asleep because you're thinking about other things. And so 2 things that I've found helpful with that is just simple breath meditation. You're kind of focusing on the breath, trying to eliminate other thoughts, and that just like preps your brain, teaches you the skill of just like clearing your mind. And so that I find is helpful to me because then when I'm trying to go to sleep and have these other things that I'm thinking about, you're more able to just like let it go. It's time to sleep. It's not time to think about things, and be able to fall asleep. And then journaling does very much the same thing. Just gets the thoughts out of your head onto the paper, so you can kind of just let them stay on the paper and don't think about them later when you would prefer to not be thinking about them. All right. So that's something that I would say you have to really experiment with, because it's not like the same things work for everyone. So some people really do well with certain types of meditation. Some people really do well with certain types of journaling. And you kind of just have to wing it, figure it out, and you'll slowly be able to just like figure out what types of stuff work for you, and kind of just like reducing anxiety, reducing thoughts. You're trying to go to bed.
Would you say that's the last thing I would do before I go to bed, or earlier in the evening, or?
So with breath meditation, that's actually something you don't want to do in the evening, because like a focusing meditation like that is actually kind of harmful to sleep. Like if you do it directly before you're trying to go to bed.
Okay.
Because it kind of tenses your mind up. I like to think of it that way. It like is very focused. It's very deliberate. And in general, you don't want to be doing work for probably like 2 hours before bed. So I go to bed at 9. At 7, I turn all the work off. I'm just hanging out, reading, doing stuff like that. Trying to just relax the mind. So that's another thing to think about, is kind of turning the work off, because if you're going from work mode right to sleep mode, I find that I'm often thinking about those things when I'm trying to go to bed. So generally, you don't want to be focusing really on anything. You kind of just want to be relaxed, doing your thing, and not trying too hard at any particular thing before you go to bed. So meditation, best done probably, if it's a focusing meditation, is best done in the morning, when your brain's kind of fresh, because the focusing meditation is less of preparing your brain to sleep, and it's more of building your brain's ability to just like turn off the thoughts, kind of just like silencing the background thoughts so you're able to sleep better. The last thing is blackout film or sleep mask. These are really helpful, I've found, with quality of sleep. And so this is something that would help you be able to stay asleep for longer, sleep through the whole night. Blackout film, you just put it on your windows. It's like non-permanent, pretty cheap. But then you also have this black film on your windows, which is kind of annoying. Or you can try something like a sleep mask. There are tons of options for these, but it just goes over your face, wraps around the back. There are much nicer ones than the ones you get on airplanes, that will really actually like block out all the light. There are actually some ones that have like little Bluetooth speakers in the ears, so it's like you're wearing earbuds, and then they'll play like calming sounds for you. Anyways, you don't need that. But having something like that is super helpful, because in your bedroom you have east-facing windows, and so especially in the morning, I think your room is not as dark as it could be. like, ideally you want pitch black. Like, it does not matter if your eyes are open or closed, like, you cannot see anything. And so, especially since we have like street lights on this road, there's always going to be that light coming in. And so this really just helps block that out. Because again, light makes your body want to wake up, and darkness makes your body want to go to sleep. And so when you have that little bit of light, it really decreases your sleep quality because your body can sense it. And so when it's getting lighter, that means it's getting like closer to the morning, so it's telling your body to kind of like wake up a little bit. But when it's light all night, your body just doesn't know when to be deeply asleep and lightly asleep. Like, it just kind of keeps you in this moderate range where you don't really actually have very high quality sleep. And so that is something I would highly recommend you should try. But yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, think about these things.
Okay. Sounds like I have a few action items here that I can work on. Should I let you know how it's going?
You should. We'll check back in.
Sounds good.
All right. Sweet.